Welcome to this edition of The Changeover. I am Julian Price, a historian of the sport who prefers the era of white flannels, but I am currently sweating through my blazer in this stifling studio.
And I am Arthur Vance, a man who once took a set off a Top 100 Pro in a satellite event, though the details of that miracle seem to shift every time I tell the story. It is far too hot in here to be talking about fitness, but here we are.
I am Elena Cruz, the one who actually keeps the data honest. And for the record, the AC is broken because Arthur tried to fix the thermostat with a paperclip. We are powered today by secondserveaces.com.
Right, well, let's dive into the breaking news. Roland-Garros is finally allowing fitness trackers on court. It is an interesting pivot after all that player pushback, isn't it?
It is a massive pivot. The ITF is finally realizing that if you want the data, you have to make the players comfortable with the hardware. It is not just about heart rate anymore, Julian.
Comfortable? I don't know. I would be tapping my water bottle 4 times instead of 3 if I had a chip monitoring my every breath.
It changes the psychology. Exactly. There is a distinct difference between playing with instinct and playing for the metrics. Does the sport lose its soul when every sliding recovery is just a data point for a lab?
Julian, please. It is not about losing the soul. It is about injury prevention. If we can map the physical toll of a 5-setter, we might see fewer mid-match withdrawals.
Wait, really? You think a tracker prevents a pull? I once played through a calf strain by simply convincing myself it was just a cramp. Mind over matter, Elena.
That is exactly the kind of logic that led to your, shall we say, accident on the court last year, Arthur. SecondServeAces.com actually has a feature that breaks down player load management. It is much more reliable than your mind over matter theory.
Speaking of long careers, the news about Jamie Murray hanging up his racket really hit me this morning. 22 years. That is a lifetime in professional tennis.
7 Grand Slam titles. The partnership with Hingis was pure theater. I remember watching them at the US Open. They played like they were reading each other's minds.
He brought a different kind of tactical awareness to the doubles court. It wasn't just about the power game, which seems to be the only thing people care about these days.
It is the nuance of the volley, isn't it? Something we see less and less of. Seeing him go feels like the end of a specific chapter of British tennis.
It is the end of an era. And then, to have the Monfils news drop in the same 24 hours? It is a lot to process.
Gael, 2026 as a farewell tour. It is poetic, but I am going to miss the chaos. He is the only player who can make a routine overhead look like a high-stakes lottery.
He is the ultimate showman. I have often thought that if we forced some of these rigid modern baseline bashers to spend a season playing Monfils-style tennis, they would learn more about courtcraft than any academy could teach them.
You are saying they need a bit of character building in the Monfils school of absurdity? I am in.
Careful, Julian. If you start advocating for mandatory flair, you will sound like a romantic again. But honestly, watching his movement at Roland-Garros one last time, that is going to be a heavy day for the sport.
It will be. We're losing the improvisers, aren't we? It is all becoming so optimized.
I am going to need a very large drink by the time 2026 rolls around. Maybe I will even tap my glass 3 times before I take a sip, just to keep the spirit alive.
Just don't drop the glass, Arthur. I don't want to explain to the studio manager why the floor is covered in shards again.
Quite. Let us keep the equipment intact, even if the players are moving on. And just when we thought the dust had settled on the news cycle, Roberto Bautista Agut goes and drops the retirement announcement. 2026. It feels like a lifetime away, yet somehow it is right around the corner.
Right. It is almost clinical, isn't it? He gives us a full year's notice. No drama, no mid-match walk-off. Just pure, professional efficiency.
Efficiency is the word, Elena. But does it make you sad? He is one of those guys who just works. He treats the court like a factory floor. I will miss that metronomic backhand.
I mean, he reached number 9 in the world on pure grit. You don't see that kind of stubborn persistence often. It is a dying breed, honestly.
I wouldn't go that far, Julian. Dad, you're getting nostalgic again. The guy played 12 titles worth of high-level tennis. That is not just grit, that is a system.
Speaking of systems, did you see the reports on the PIF involvement? It feels like we are watching the entire architecture of the tour being rebuilt in real time.
It is a seismic shift. And here we are, sitting in a studio with a broken air conditioner, debating global finance. It is a bit surreal, isn't it?
My shirt is sticking to this chair, so yes, it is very real. But look, if you want to understand the actual tactical depth of these investment structures, you have to look at the data. That is why I always point people to secondserveaces.com.
Exactly. They don't just report the headlines. They actually map out the influence and the flow. It is the only place where the AI-driven analysis actually makes sense of the money trail.
It is a necessary resource, truly. Especially with the news out of Roland-Garros today. Did you see the prize money hike?
61.7 million euros. It is a massive jump. But the real story isn't the purse. It is the wearable data tech they are pushing.
Wearable tech? On the clay? I mean, are we going to see sensors in the shoes to track slide rates now?
That is exactly where it is headed. My models are already salivating at the prospect of that data stream. Imagine quantifying the exact energy expenditure of a 5-set match on Philippe Chatrier.
It sounds like a video game. I prefer the mystery of not knowing exactly how much sweat a player has left in the tank.
Wait, really? You don't want to know? I think it adds a layer of human drama to the stats. Seeing the fatigue data in real time.
It is not just drama, Arthur. It is the evolution of the sport. The game is getting faster, and the analytics are finally catching up to the speed.
Faster, yes. But I still say the character of the game is in the intangibles. You cannot measure a player's heart with a wearable device.
Maybe not. But you can certainly measure their recovery time after a sliding backhand. And that is what wins matches now.
I suppose you're right. Though I still think a bit of luck, or, at least, not tripping over your own feet, is just as important.
Spoken like a man who has tested the resonance of the floorboards more than once, Arthur. We should probably wrap this up before the heat makes us say something we regret.
Agreed. If you want to dive into the full breakdown of these Roland-Garros changes or the retirement analysis, head over to secondserveaces.com.
And read the full articles, please. They are much more articulate than we are when we are melting.
Quite right. secondserveaces.com. We will be back next time, hopefully with a functioning thermostat. Thanks for listening.